Can you get an agent or a publishing house to represent you if you don't have a completed manuscript? These are questions that I've been getting on my TikTok a lot over the last couple of weeks, and as a best-selling hybrid author, I'm answering all of your author and publishing questions right here on our YouTube page. So hit the subscribe and notification bell, and then get down in my comments if you've got questions so I can get those answered for you. And when it comes to finding an agent or a publishing house, you 100% have to have a completed manuscript because they have no proof that you can do what you're claiming to do if they don't. And even if you can do it, they don't know if they like your style until they see what's going on. So nobody's going to represent you until you are ready to go. Let's look at this through a different lens. Let's say you are someone who likes to cook and you walk into the best restaurant in the city and you say, I'm a chef, hire me. What's the owner of that establishment going to think? And what are they going to say to you? They're going to need proof, right? They need to see your credentials and they need to actually see that you can cook the way that you say you do. Just because you can throw something in the oven doesn't mean your food's going to taste good or taste good to that particular person. So you can't just walk in and say, I can do this, and have somebody represent you. That's just not the way that it works if you are an unproven person. In fact, even as someone in the industry, if you've been doing it for years and years and you've got a lot under your belt, they'll still probably ask for proof. They're not going to want your ideas unless you are like the best-selling author. Like everybody knows your name, everybody knows who you are, and they know all of your work has been consistent for many, many years and many, many books. You do have to have it done. Now, once you have representation, you can kind of come in and say, okay, I've got this idea. Do you think I should work on this one? Do you think this one could sell? And your agent or your publishing house can say, yes, we would like to consider this. Please go ahead and write this for us. But even so, in almost every case, they're still not going to sign that new book until you have it written. They will say, yeah, we want that. Go ahead and write it for us. Or they'll decline what you are offering, but they're not going to sign a contract in most cases unless you're really, really well produced within their company and they know exactly what they're getting from you and they know it's going to be an instant bestseller. You have to have the work done. A lot of people come up with really great book ideas, but then they either can't write or they don't write. These books never get produced. These books never are completed, or they're not necessarily great. You have to be ready to go when that time comes, because if not, you could potentially burn bridges. So let's just say you have a manuscript you're working on. It's okay. You're not done writing it yet. You haven't gone through and edited and revised it yet. And you meet someone and you say, I've got a book. Do you want it? It's not ready yet. Well, how long are they going to have to wait? How long is that going to be something that they are going to stick around for? Chances are they're not. They want projects that are already completed that they can immediately revise with you and then take to that publishing house that they're working with if it's an agent, or if it's a publishing house, they're going to want to be able to revise it with you and put it out for sale. If they have to wait for you to write it, or if they have to see if maybe you can write to the level that they want you to write it on, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. They are not going to stick around for that. So when it comes to going and approaching somebody, it has to be completely done. And not just completely done, but revised and edited and polished to the best of your ability. If you are going to an agent or if you are going to a publisher, it doesn't have to be edited by a professional editor, because the publishing house that buys your book will then pay for your editor to go through and clean it up. But that doesn't mean you have to let them see it unedited. You still have to edit it yourself, and we strongly encourage you to go through beta readers and through friends and family who can typo check you and grammar check you. The more issues your book has, the more it will deter people from taking your book. So that's not to say that if you hand them a book with a bunch of typos, they're just going to say no because there's a bunch of typos. That's the editor's job to catch those and to fix those. But if you have plot holes, if you've got other issues, if you've got characters and plot lines that are slightly problematic that you have to tweak, or if things aren't tied together properly, and then you also have a bunch of grammar issues, that could be a problem. So you want to make sure that it is polished as possible and that you're ready to go when you walk into that conversation with an agent or with a publisher. Just like if you're a chef, you want to walk into that restaurant and say, I am a chef. Here are my credentials to prove that I can do what I do. So if you've got other works out, they're going to want to see those and see how those have performed. If you're someone who already has books out, if you're a newbie, that's okay. You don't have to say, I have all these credentials. That's okay. It's okay to be a first-time person. That's fine. They understand that and they expect that. But you want to be able to say, this is the best that I can do on this. This is the best I have to offer. And you have to offer them a killer query letter, which we have talked about here on the YouTube page with some amazing agents. And we are going to continue to talk about in the future in upcoming videos. But you want to have that really strong hook, that really strong communication on what your book is, that really strong knowledge of what genres you put in, what tropes you are working with. and why it's going to sell really well for them. And then you want to make sure you've got the best introduction to your story possible, because with your query, you usually have to send the first 3 to 5 chapters, and then they can ask for more if they want. Of course, that is dependent on each individual publishing house or each individual agent that you're talking to, what amount of your story they want. But it has to be the strongest thing you can write, and it has to flow really well. It has to get their attention, and it has to not be riddled with typos and grammar errors. So you gotta make sure it's very, very polished, just like if you were to step into a restaurant and bring them a plate of the best food that you could create so that they could get the best idea of what you represent as a chef. That is going to be much more likely to get you signed on, or at least get you a conversation with them, than if you walked in with absolutely nothing. So when it comes to writing a story, if you have an idea, that's awesome. You only have an idea. You have to now do the legwork. You have to write your book. So sit down, figure out what genres you are writing in and what the expected word count is, because each genre and each area has a different word count. In YA, you're looking at anything between like 62 to 85,000 for most novels, but inside of the YA genre, they actually have it broken down. So fantasy is going to be a little longer, contemporary might be a little shorter, sci-fi might be in the middle somewhere. And each publishing house is different with their requirements. So back in the day when I was querying, at the very, very beginning, when I turned on all those book contracts, I actually had to make sure that whatever publishing house or whatever agent I was querying accepted the word count that I had, because my early books were a little on the short side, and sometimes I had to actually add more to my manuscripts just so I could qualify to then reach out to those particular people that I was considering working with. So you got to know what each individual platform wants, and then send them what they want inside of that query letter. So final answer, if you have an idea, that's great, but you have nothing but an idea. You got to do the work. If you have a manuscript that you're working on, that's awesome. You're on your way. You are doing the process of getting to that point, but you're not ready yet. So keep going. Don't give up. But keep going. You can start doing your research on who you might want to query right now, but you're not at that stage yet. And if you're done with your manuscript, you need to self-edit, you need to revise, you need to tweak, you need to have some people that you like read through it and make sure everything's good and you're ready to go. And then you can start the querying process. Now, if you've got questions about querying, hit me up down below. Hit the subscribe notification bell, because we do have videos from amazing agents who have already answered a lot of these questions, and we are bringing in more agents and people to work with you in the publishing industry to help you get you ready to reach out to the correct people. And I'm going to be giving you my own querying tips and tricks in upcoming videos as well. If you have questions on anything in the publishing industry, hit me up and come check me out on TikTok and on Instagram and on Facebook, because I am dropping all sorts of knowledge and behind the scenes of how I became a best-selling author. I've actually had the number 7 best-selling book out of all books in existence. I'm just saying you should hang out with me, and I would love to get your questions answered for you. Hit me up right now, because I'm filming new videos. You can see I am not in my normal space because I just moved and my bookshelves in my office are not set up yet. So I've got this couch and wall that I'm hanging out on, but I'm getting questions answered because I can't set up my office until my bookshelves are mounted to the wall, and I'm not quite there yet. So I've got a little time to make some videos. Hit me up. Let me know what do you guys want to know more about. I would love to get those questions answered for you. And I'll see you on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook for more behind the scenes and really cool looks into the publishing industry. Until then, stay inspired.